Yo, what's up guys? d-cellgaming here, back with some more final gear. And today I'm going to be doing a complete guide on augmenting your gear, what it is, how to do it, why you should do it, and some overall tips that you may or may not know about augmenting in final gear. So without further delay, let's get right into it. So as I said, this is going to be a complete guide to augmenting in final gear. I'm going to go over everything that I've learned about augmenting and just try to provide as much information to you guys as possible. I am going to be using some infographics that I did take the time to make. If you're interested in them at the end of the video, you can go to the Discord server down below and it'll be pinned in the final gear section. So first things first, what is augmenting and why is it important? Okay, so if you go to the hangar and then you go to equipment, you're going to see a spot that says modify. So you go into there and you pick a piece of equipment. Down below in the middle, it'll be yellow. It says modify. So right here. If you click modify and you pick the piece, you're going to come to a menu that says brace up, augments, and property refinement. This is where you go to augment your gear. And if you look right here, you can see it says level 1. That shows that this piece has been leveled up all the way to level 1 and it's ready to be broken from level 1 to level 2. Now, if you see here in the augment section, you click on the augment, you'll see inheritance and brace up. We're not going to focus on inheritance right now, as the brace up is what we're going to be doing. Brace up is how you break it from level 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. This is where you're actually going to be using your supply prep currency to use. This is what fuels the augments. Now, what makes augmenting so important is the secondary properties that you get. You get a secondary property from breaking from 1 to 2 and then also from 3 to 4. So every other level, you're going to get a small amount of stats. So it's not going to look very big, but then you will get some secondary properties, which will be huge. That can be, health percentage, attack percentage, damage percentage, etc. So it's very important to augment your gear because it's going to eventually be a big power boost for that character. And the overall goal of getting the augmented gear is to get it broken all the way to level 5, and that will actually let you evolve the gear into the SSR versions. So you can see that the SSR versions have 1666 attack and 1388 health. I said that very awkwardly. Has 13,888 health. Now, the SR versions are going to look like this: 1296 attack and 10802 attack. So as you can see, the base numbers get much higher. You're going to have more secondary properties. Overall, that's the end goal, but we're going to go over more in depth on how to get there and how to pick what you're going to do to get there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the basics of augmenting. So let me pick somebody who hasn't been augmented yet so we can actually take a look and see what it looks like. So when you go to modify a piece of gear that hasn't been augmented yet, you're going to have to go to brace up and you're going to have to feed some equipment to level that piece up before you can use the the prep augments to break it into the next level. So as you can see here, every item you get gives it multiple experience until you can max it out. You hit brace up and then you level the item up, and then you can use the supply prep currency to break it into the next stage. As you go along the way, you're going to see like tiny little stat boosts for each little section that you get. As you can see, you're going to get like damage plus 6, crit 6, def 6, attack 6, HP 6. But really what's going to be very important for these stages is the secondary equipment slots that you get. So as you can see right here, it says breakthrough stage limit, new secondary property unlocked. So what that means is once you've leveled it up all the way from, all the way to level 1, and then you break it to level 2, you will get a new secondary property. What you can do from that point is actually use scatter modules to refine that secondary property into a better secondary for that character. If you have Liangle, for example, and you had mech attack, you would probably want to refine that into HP percentage, for example, or damage reduction. things like that. So this is a way to really modify your character. We'll go over tips on really how to do this a little later in the video, so make sure to stay around for that. But this is just the basics of how augmenting works for people who might be new and don't really know what's going on here. One thing to keep in mind when you're augmenting gear is the different color grades will give you different amount of experience towards the progress. So greens give you 100, blues give you 150, and purples will give you 1500. Now, conversely, yellows will give you a ton, but you don't really get those, and the only ones that you're gonna get, you're not gonna want to use those SSR gears. Like it's an option, I guess. Don't do it. If you have a yellow piece of gear, do not use that to modify into another piece. Don't feed it. That's just a terrible idea. If you're wanting to know the exact value that a yellow piece or an SSR piece gives for experience, it's actually 19,800, just so you know. Also, one thing to keep in mind, if you're leveling up duplicate items, they will give 2.5 times the experience. So let me show you what that looks like. So we're gonna go into Evelyn here and we're gonna modify a piece of her gear. So as you can see, when we go to the brace up, if we go to a duplicate of her item, so a purple item we can see is 1500 experience. But if we go down to a duplicate, we see now it's 3,750. So if it's a duplicate, it actually gives 2.5 times the amount of experience. So do keep that in mind, because you can easily get duplicates if you're farming personal instances. For Elizabeth, Viorate, Evelyn, for example, is really easy to get. Evelyn and Coral is another one that you can get. So you can save some resources doing this, but it's generally not needed, and I'll go over in the tip section why it's not really needed. Let's go ahead and talk about the cost of augmenting the gear, how much it's going to take to get each level. So one thing to know is mechs and chips actually have slightly different costs. So let's go ahead and go over them now. Pulling up mechs first, we'll see that level 1 is going to cost you 6 purple items. It's going to cost 216 green of limits and 1 blueprint and 13,969 gold. That's going to give you a new secondary property. Level 2 is going to give you plus 30 attack to the item. It's going to cost you 7 purple items to fully level up. It's going to cost 180 greens, 180 blues, 2 blueprints, and 15,181 gold. Level 3 is going to give you yet another secondary property. That's going to cost you 9 purple items. It's going to cost 144 blues, 144 purples, 3 blueprints, and 21,318 gold. Level 4 is plus 30 to defense to the item. That's going to cost you 18 purples. It's going to cost you 108 purple of the supply preps, 108 oranges, 4 blueprints, and 42,393 gold. And for level 5, that's what's actually gonna break it into the SSR quality. That gives you a base jump in your stats. That's gonna cost you 48 purples. It's a massive jump there. 48 purple items, 84 oranges, 84 reds, and 5 blueprints, as well as 114,180 gold. And let's go ahead and pull up the chip infographic I made, and you're gonna see that it's relatively the same. The only difference is chips, even though they have all of the same like stage breakthroughs, the secondary properties, the attack, the defense, the SSR quality, it's gonna cost you the exact same amount of purple items to use to break them up. It's all the same there. It's going to cost the same amount of gold. The only difference here is that it's going to cost half the amount of augment items. So you only need 108 greens for level 1, 90 greens and 90 blues for level 2, 72 blues and 72 perps for the level 3, 54 purples and 54 oranges for level 4, and then 42 oranges and 42 reds for level 5. You'll also notice you obviously don't need blueprints for these because you use chip blueprints to make them, make chips, and you use frame and weapon blueprints to augment them. So that's the difference there. So I'm gonna try to make this guide as quick as possible and to the point as possible, but I do want to go over some tips on how to make this process better, what to focus on, and some tricks that you may not know about the game. So the very first thing that I actually want to talk about is farming Evelyn parts in the Evelyn side story. Now what I mean by this is if you go to battle and you go to events right here, you see that you have the personal story Evelyn, the personal story Margaret, the shadow of Corborough, blah blah blah. if you go to Personal Story Evelyn, what you're actually going to want to do is farm these stages for the currency. And the reason why you want to do this is because there's a trick that you can use to get near infinite purple items that you need to augment your items. It's pretty great. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you go to the Redeem tab and you pick the White Crow development, it can't be the source code development or the bandit development. If you do the White Crow development, it doesn't matter what you pick, the weapon, cockpit, frame, or mount. We'll just go ahead and do weapon, for example, and we're going to do level 20. Now, the reason why we're going to do this is because it literally only costs 2 currency of each of the currencies, so 4 total currency, and you get a guaranteed purple item out of this. So let's go ahead and just do one so you can see what I'm talking about. You exchange it, it's guaranteed a level 20 purple item. So what you can do is use these level 20s to get 1500 experience, because the thing about augmenting in this game is it doesn't matter what level you use. It doesn't matter if they're even braced up like level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is their color grade, and that's what makes this amazing. So if you had a keen eye earlier in the video, you might have saw that those level 20s were giving the normal amount of experience. Going back into the augment menu, you can see that this level 60 item here that is plus 40 gives 1500 experience. This level 60 item here gives 1500 experience. And if we go all the way down to, let's go, come on game. If we go all the way down to the level 20 purple items, they still give 1500 experience. So this is a very easy way to grind up materials, because you are gonna need a lot of purple items to start breaking through these equipment. But yeah, this is pretty much a near infinite way to farm for augment experience. So as you can see, it doesn't matter what level the equipment is. Now the next tip that I want to talk about is farming for the Shadow of Corberow, because Shadow of Corberow, it should be done every day anyway. That's going to give you extra purple items for augmenting and extra gold. So I'm not going to go over that. It's just, 10 fights a day. It's pretty easy to do. But if you go into the story missions, what you're going to want to do is get to a point where you can clear out heroic personal instances. So usually what I do is just clear out violates, because it's a very straightforward instance. You want to get to where you can clear it on heroic, because that's, again, it's going to give you extra purple items, and if you're leveling up Virate, you're going to get double experience. Now what you're going to get from doing this is challenge coins, and you're going to be tempted to buy like the level 30s or whatever level 40s. Never do this, guys. Don't do that. That's a waste of currency. You can use the personal side story Evelyn to get those. Your challenge coins are actually probably best utilized and used for the cutting edge textbooks. These things right here, that's what you're going to want to be spending the challenge coins on, because that's going to give you more skills and just make your character stronger. Do not use challenge coins for gear ever. Now the third tip I want to talk about is when to augment your items. You're going to want to try to only augment pieces that have 2 secondary slots. That's not always the case. Like when we got Schmilly's gear from Halloween event, not all of it came with 2 pieces, so it is what it is. But in most circumstances, try your best to farm a piece of gear that has 2 secondary pieces or 2 secondary stats on the piece. And in general, what you're going to want to do is wait until you have all of the secondary stats unlocked for all of the pieces of gear, so you can see how the stats rolled for that character. Then you can go in with some scatter modules and you can start to re-roll specific pieces of secondary stats that you need. So say you rolled HP on your Ren, but you needed attack, that's a good thing to re-roll out of. Or you got defense or something like enemy crit chance down, or something that you need to re-roll into attack rate or whatever. Like this is the time. You're gonna want to wait until all 4 of them, because you want to see how the stats roll before you re-roll, because you might get the stat that you're looking for, then you can re-roll another stat that's more useful to get rid of. Now another reason this is important is because, like, if you go into the gear, you'll see, let's see, I think I have a re-rolled piece here. Yeah, I re-rolled a piece here for energy recharge speed. So as you can see here, I can always refine this. I can use scatter modules on this particular one that I re-rolled over and over and over until I get the desired stat. Now, when you do this, it's going to bring up 3 options, and you can choose one of those 3 options, or you can choose the old stat. So let's say on this particular piece of equipment, this crit damage 12.3% was a health percent. I could use critical crash to also re-roll on that stat as well. Then I'll have 2 stats that I can re-roll and use scatter modules on. So that's what makes critical crashes so important, and why you want to not use your scatter modules and your critical crashes. Like, you don't want to use them as soon as you get them. You really want to wait and see how things play out, because these are very rare resources. You don't want to just use them without a plan. In general, what you're going to want to do for most players, unless you're a big whale, you're going to be conservative with your critical crashes. You're going to be conservative with your scatter modules. And what you're going to want to do is build 1 or 2 DPS up, augment them out, and just get their stats just slightly somewhere where they need to be. You don't have to scatter module all of the pieces. You don't have to, like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be min-max crazy, because this game does have a lot of leeway with finishing stages, unless you're really, really pushing for those challenge stages. But yeah, guys, just keep in mind, scatter modules are hard to get. Critical crashes are hard to get. So be selective on what you do with them. So talking about getting 1 or 2 characters augmented and getting the ball rolling. So at first, you're going to want to focus on like 1 DPS and kind of get them augmented. You want to try to focus on a character who's going to be useful in the future. Like Ren, for example, when she gets her UR, she's going to be just a beast character. And I know a lot of people are building Tasia, and I get this question a lot. But I just like Ren, and I know when her UR comes out, it's just going to be crazy. So I have her pre-built for her UR in the future. And that's how you kind of want to do it. You want to build for the future. In this game, you always want to build for the future. But when you're first starting off, that's hard to do because you're limited on resources. So what I want to talk to you about is going into the battle and the dailies, which is your supply prep, and how to utilize supply prep to your biggest advantage. On Monday through Friday, you always want to do the highest level difficulty possible, because that's going to give you the most resources. So once you can clear heroic, you always want to clear heroic on Monday through Friday, because it's a static gain. You're going to get the same amount of resources every clear, and you get resources across the board from green to red. So when you can see here, Saturday and Sunday, it says all type breakthrough. So what that means is when you go to easy, you get all greens. If you go to normal, you get all blues, all purple, all oranges, all red. That's what Saturday and Sunday means. So in general, you never want to do normal, hard, or hell on Saturday and Sunday. You want to either do easy or heroic. Now, you want to probably do easy at the very beginning of the game to get the ball rolling. But in general, my personal opinion is you want to farm heroic every single day, especially after you get 1 or 2 DPS augmented with both secondary affixes. You want to start rolling out heroic on Saturday and Sunday, because easy only gives you, like, I think 21 greens, but it gives you 27 reds, I think. You're gonna need a bunch of red, and red is hard to get. So once you get a 1 DPS or 2 DPS augmented out, you really need to start focusing on getting red augment currency, because it's gonna be really, really hard and sparse to get those SSR items. But hey guys, that's gonna be it for the augment guide. If you enjoyed the video, found it informative, and you're still watching this far, I appreciate it. Consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more content like this in the future. If you feel like I missed something, said something in an error, or want me to clarify something further, let me know in the comments down below. Also, you can reach me on the Discord in the links down below if you have further questions. We do have a final gear section there if you want to talk about the game. Have a great day, guys, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.